In New Me Recovery and Wellness Centers, we focus on three core areas of your wellness: weight management, longevity, and performance. These areas are all influenced by key factors such as nutrition and supplementation, sleep, fitness activity, and stress management. To support your journey towards better health, we've partnered with some of the leading companies in these fields, providing you cutting edge tools designed to help you take control of your wellness. Our guest today, Panos Papadiamantis, is at the forefront of revolutionizing health and performance through cutting edge technology. As the co-founder and chief product officer of Pnoe, he has pioneered a groundbreaking approach to metabolic analysis, making breath-based diagnostics accessible to health professionals and elite athletes alike. His journey began in mechanical engineering at the National Technical University of Athens, followed by advanced studies at Stanford School of Engineering, where he worked alongside experts in national security and nuclear risk analysis. After gaining experience in Silicon Valley's tech sector, his passion for innovation led him to co-found Pnoe, a company that has analyzed over 100,000 metabolic profiles and helped world-class athletes optimize their health and performance. With a deep understanding of human metabolism and a mission to bring science-backed nutrition and training to the masses, he is transforming the way we approach weight management, longevity, and health optimization. In our conversation, we'll explore our partnership, Panos' journey in the field of metabolic testing through breath analysis. We talk about how breath analysis is the future of diagnostics, utilizing 23 biomarkers, including VO2 max, resting metabolic rate, and many more to enhance wellness, performance, and longevity. We'll also be discussing Pnoe technology, its use cases, and benefits. Panos, welcome. If you could take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about Pnoe.
Hey everyone, and Jason, thank you so much for having me here. It is a real big pleasure to connect with valued affiliates. We are, the biggest fans of the work you do out there, and we're always very excited to get on a webinar with you, or any opportunity we get in order to discuss the work that you guys do, and also the support that we provide as Pnoe, and spread the word and bring it to the masses. So a few words about Pnoe. Pnoe started back in 2017 from an idea that my co-founder, Apostolos, had during his PhD in Cambridge. That's Cambridge, UK. He was doing his PhD in sensing technologies there. And he ran into the field of breath analysis. Breath analysis has been around for about 100 years. It's a very old type of assessment. And it's actually the first type of biological testing that science came up with in order to measure the energy expenditure, the energy needs of the human body. So it's a very, very fundamental type of assessment, looking into very basic stuff of the human body, like how many calories our body's burning, right? And he pretty much saw that, despite the fact that it does measure many fundamental things, and had tremendous amounts of validation and adoption by the research and science community, there hadn't really been any adoption by everyday health and wellness. So you go to the doctor, they don't know anything about it. Sometimes they haven't even heard of it, and even fewer have actually done it as an assessment. And at the time I was working in big tech in Silicon Valley, and I knew that I always wanted to do something on my own. And when he approached me and he told me about what he was working on, I was like, that's interesting. If there's a viable way to make this type of assessment something that is available to everyone, that's a big breakthrough for health, for longevity, and it's obviously something worth pursuing as a career and as a mission in life. And so that's how we started, with a basic concept, this basic mission of making breath analysis something that is accessible to everyone. And the first step was to make devices, to make the devices that were clunky, difficult to operate, costly, something that is economical, something that is practical, and something that the average clinic or health center or fitness center can use on the daily. And because that's, from our first take of the market, that was the first problem we identified. And we're pretty successful in, creating Pnoe 1, which is still the only practical, economical, easy to use, and still clinical grade breath analysis device available in the market. But then as we started selling it and, gaining traction in the market, we also run into another big impediment that breath analysis had, which was, how do we analyze the data? How do we make it actionable for the health professional, the health provider? And also, how do we streamline the process from acquiring data to delivering a comprehensive wellness and lifestyle plan without having to hire a lot of health professionals and a lot of costly personnel in the process, which is what the few health centers that had applied breath analysis had to do in order to effectively make use of that assessment. In other words, breath analysis as a concept, as an assessment, is very valuable, acquires information about several different areas of human biology, and we can get into that right after. We can double click on what the actual, output of the test is. But then because it provides so much data, it becomes very difficult for the average health professional who is busy, who has so many things to do, who doesn't have access to specialized personnel. It's so difficult for them to take the information from the test and convert it into a nutrition program, an assessment that actually looks into all the different systems that breath analysis analyzes, and then also put together a training or a biooptimization plan. Biooptimization meaning like recommendations for longevity treatments like red light therapy or IVs or supplements. So there's a multitude of recommendations that you can extract from breath analysis, but you really need to have the know-how, and you really need to have the experience, and you really need to have the time in order to deliver all of that. And we built a lot of code. We effectively took everything that was known in the literature, I'm talking about hundreds of scientific papers, codified it into software that does most of that work for our affiliates. And that was the next big breakthrough, frankly, because by making the device scalable and practical, we enabled access to the data. But then the next big step was, how do we make the data actually useful, right? Because this is this is what ultimately is valuable for affiliates like you. And from everything that I said, I also wanted to double click on something related to the data itself. So what I said earlier was that breath analysis does provide a lot of information about several different areas of physiology, but because until we came along, old devices, and there's still some of them available in the market, didn't really provide any sort of support in terms of the analysis. What ended up happening is that the report that consumers would get would only have a very high level overview, or just bits of information from the data collected. So you would go, you do a breath analysis test, VO2 max test, or resting metabolic rate test, and all you would get is your VO2 max value, your resting metabolic rate, and maybe your training zones, without you any information about the limitations that you may be facing in the different systems that had actually been analyzed from the test, because the test looks into the three fundamental components that comprise the oxygen chain. The oxygen chain is the combination of systems we have in our body in order to deliver oxygen and clear carbon dioxide. This is what breath analysis measures at a foundational level. So you have the lungs that absorb oxygen, you have the blood and circulatory system that deliver oxygen across the body, and then you have the cells and the mitochondria that consume oxygen. And so this trifecta, lungs, heart / circulation, and then cells, is a trifecta of the oxygen chain, right? And it's what you see in the report, part of it, actually. And so breath analysis, by analyzing oxygen consumption and carbon dioxide production, is effectively able to analyze how these three systems are working in unison, but also individually. And then by adding advanced HRV analysis that we also do during the test and a few other things, we can also look into oxygen delivery, sympathetic and parasympathetic activation, and a few other systems as well. And so our report doesn't just give you your view to max value and your resting metabolic rate, which frankly may be cool to know, may be cool at first to know, but then they are certainly, they certainly wouldn't be considered prescriptive as information, because they don't really tell you what exactly is wrong with you and what you need to do in terms of nutrition, training, biooptimization, you name it, in order to improve that specific limitation that you have. And so I would say, probably the most important thing that we delivered as a company is the ability to go from collecting crude breath analysis, cardiometabolic data, to actually providing a comprehensive analysis of the different systems analyzed through breath analysis, and then also giving the specific personalized recommendations that will enable someone to overcome the limitations we analyzed.
Yeah. And that's been one of the biggest things that's been a game changer in our wellness center, is not only access to the data, because we've done with working with athletes and everything else, we've done standard VO2 max testing, and it gives you data in certain points and things like that, but it never really goes into the comprehensive level of what full metabolic analysis does. And then in conjunction with that, when you couple that with having a team of specialists on the back end internally working in collaboration together, it gives us so much more access, because we, as a wellness center, we would never be able to have enough staff to be able to run a full metabolic program. We would have to have so much specialized staff to be able to do that. It would be very, very cost prohibitive. But now, with having a collaboration with Pnoe, we're able to run and administer the tests. We understand the data at a very, very high level. We've gone through the certifications and testing that's provided through the education component, which has been huge with allowing our staff to understand how all the different components come together. But then in addition, we network you guys and roll you in directly with our client base, handling consultations, reviewing data. We then take that and are able to build very, very precise, specific performance plans across a multitude of different modalities. So whether it's weight management, longevity, or performance, typically everybody views this as just being a performance enhancement. How we've applied it in our wellness center is we've been able to cover the whole entire spectrum. Whether it's somebody that's looking for weight management, we can get nutrition data, see how their metabolism is functioning, see where the deficiencies are, build health improvement plans around that. Or if they're doing longevity and they're looking to have a healthier lifestyle, the same thing, being able to identify where those deficiencies are at and put appropriate health improvement plans in place for that. And then obviously with performance, when we're working with higher level athletes, we can really push the envelope and push the needle and have measurable data from them with their training programs to show where we're having increases or where we need to dial in some of the performance out of these athletes.
And, to your point, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about breath analysis, because it has been inextricably connected to VO2 max, right? Even though VO2 max is just one of the 23 biomarkers that we analyze. Because of that connection that people have made in their minds, they think that breath analysis and VO2 max testing is just for athletes. Because, old devices would give out one report that simply stated the VO2 max and training zones, and then people thought, okay, how is this useful to me as a person who wants to live longer? Or how is this useful to me as a person who wants to lose weight? That's not for me. That's just for athletes. And that's how this misconception of, hey, breath analysis equals VO2 max equals a test only for athletes was actually established. But to your point, if you're able to dive into the data and dissect it in a way that reveals limitations that are relevant to all kinds of people. It may be someone who wants to live longer, maybe someone who is facing a specific pulmonary, cardiovascular, or metabolic issue, and they want to overcome it. Maybe someone who is on GLP-1s or, is looking to lose weight. All of these are audiences. All of these are, types of people who are facing a question that can be answered through breath analysis if you look into the data the right way and if you actually fully utilize the biomarkers that the test gives you. If you're only sticking to VO2 max and training zones, frankly, you're not even giving any value even to athletes, because again, it's not prescriptive in any way. Especially for athletes, I would say, they're the ones who are the most interested in the type of analysis that we conduct, because when you're an athlete and you want to, push the envelope, push the needle, you want to overcome your previous record, you want to, first of all, identify your limiting factor, right? What is in my physiology that is keeping me behind? And then you want to know, okay, if I have a biological limitation in that specific part of my chain, what do I need to do in terms of nutrition? What type of exercise should I apply? What type of biooptimization program should I apply in order to fix that specific issue in my chain? Because if you don't have that information, you're flying blind. You're throwing darts in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we see it time and time again. I mean, I've worked with a number of athletic programs, both at the collegiate level and at the semi-pro and professional level, and it's the same thing. Like when we initially have the opening discussions, they're like, "Oh, we already do some level of VO2 max testing," so we have to go through that whole education process and say, "Well, this is a component of that," but what we're able to do is dive much, much deeper than that and actually identify where the deficiencies are. And to your point, even with the general public, it's been really eye-opening as we've worked more and more with this technology. When we're able to work with just general people that are trying to live healthier lifestyles, everybody's compressed for time. Everybody, has got so many things going on in their lives, but they try to allocate time to their health. And so they'll go to the gym, they'll do some level of training, but because their training is not optimized for their systems, they don't really see the results that they expect. And so they have this investment of time going on, but they're not really getting the results. So then when we take them in and we're able to say, okay, let's do a full analysis on you. We'll see where all of your biomarkers are at. We'll take a look at everything under the hood, and then we'll dial in a plan that's a little bit more efficient for what you need. So you're able to put that training that you're doing, that time that you're spending into training, into use. So like if your goal is weight management, for example, we can tell you exactly where your training zones are, where you're going to be burning the most amount of fat the most efficiently. And on top of that, we can tell you exactly what your nutrient balance should be, what your macro ratio should be, what your calorie intake should be. And on top of that, with the addition of the help of the Pnoe staff, we're able to pull in dietitian data, create meal plans, create nutrition plans, and a whole host of different things that will help somebody optimize their health.
And in addition to these points, what we uncover through it's actually almost now 200,000 tests we've completed, more than 200,000 tests we've completed. One of the most frequently encountered limitations that people are unaware of are those related to breathing. So it is something related to your lungs or something related to your airways. So we run into many people that may have poor fat burn efficiency, which is going to, manifest itself as a high RER, respiratory exchange ratio, either at rest and or during exercise. But then these people may be training quite a bit, and they may be on a pretty healthy diet. So, there isn't really something in their lifestyle that would justify a low fat burn efficiency. But then we look into their breathing, we see that, for example, they may be hyperventilating. We may see that they may have residual damage from COVID. We may see that, they may have a whole host of things that are actually impacting their ability to bring oxygen in the system. And because fat is a molecule that will always require oxygen to be oxidized, that reduction in oxygen delivery, that is not a problem of the cells not being able to absorb oxygen or of the heart to pump oxygen-rich blood, but it's rather a problem of the lungs to absorb oxygen or of the airway to inhale oxygen-rich air. Because of that, ultimately there isn't enough oxygen for higher fat oxidation to occur. And as a result, these people see that they have a low fat burn efficiency. If you don't do this sort of like differential analysis, you're not going to be able to pinpoint the lungs as the, or the airway as the culprit. And as a result, You will not know, what sort of training or intervention to apply, right? Uh, so super important to also to always consider the person as a system, as a holistic system that has several subsystems. And as I like to say to your point earlier, performance optimization is only a more advanced state in the health optimization continuum, in the sense that the way we approach an athlete is not going to be any different from the way we approach someone who wants to live longer versus someone who wants to lose weight. Uh, all have the same subcomponents. Fundamentally, they all work the same because they're all humans. And the type of analysis that we do is going to be the same. Obviously, what's going to be different is the volume of workout or the intensity of the nutrition intervention or the intensity of the biooptimization intervention. But fundamentally, the type of testing that we do, the type of analysis that we do, and then the recommendations that we provide will fundamentally be the same.
Yeah. And we found that, when we first brought the technology on, when we were building out our wellness center, we have a lot of different modalities that we offer that are all components that treat a lot of the things that are diagnosed through the metabolic testing, whether it be red light therapy, whether it be hypothermic sauna-based therapy, the things we do in nutrition, breath work, all of those things. These are all things that are identified as deficiencies within inside the Pnoe system. And so what we found is it's for us as an organization, it's kind of the linchpin that ties all of our services and modalities together. So as we do an analysis, we can see where those deficiencies may lie or where those optimizations need to go in. And then it allows us to apply the modalities that we have inside of our wellness center to be able to treat that and to try to give optimization to individuals in those particular modalities. And then in addition to that, one of the other things that's helped us do is, as we've identified trends inside of our client base with different health risks and lack of optimization, we've actually expanded some of the modalities that we've offered because we've been identifying them as regular trends that we see within our client base. And so when we see that, we go, hey, we need to add this as a treatment modality because we're seeing this on a relatively regular basis. So for us, it's kind of been the linchpin that's tied all of our services together.
Totally. And, this is something that we see from many other affiliates. One of the most popular parts of our software and our service is that we enable affiliates to bring into our system and integrate all of their biooptimization offering. And that includes longevity services like red light, hydrogen, compression, infrared saunas, cryo, whatever you name it. Also IVs, through our software, you can upload pretty much all of your, IVs and then also supplements. And through the recommendation engine that we have, we will recommend, a curated list of these services and substances, individualized for every person based on the limitations identified from the test. And so that bridges the gap between what could I do in general in your clinic versus what do I need to do based on the biological limitations that I've identified. And what we're seeing is that many of our affiliates are thinking along the same lines as you are. And they're like, okay, we're seeing a lot of these limitations in our cohort, in our audience. And so it may make sense to bring in this modality because a lot of people will benefit from it because, we are seeing a lot of people with that particular problem, right? And that's a very good way of thinking about how to make purchases, because if you think about it, you're actually applying real data and you're making a really data-driven decision in terms of your capital purchases and capital outlays, especially when it comes to expensive equipment, because now you know that what you're bringing in is actually going to help a good chunk of your population because you know the limitations that they're more or less facing.
Right. And then being able to have a consolidated team on the back end that is reviewing data and everything else has been huge for us, because as we roll out multi-location franchise, our goal is to have the experience be the same regardless of where any of our locations are at. And so we do that by having the same team on the back end. So we have the Pnoe support team along with our other support teams that we have. And
Yep.
so our locations, all they have to do is run their facility, administer the testing, handle consultations, and then it's our team and the partnership team that we have with Pnoe on the back end that is the one that's responsible for generating the same reports and the recommendations. So there's a uniformity across all of our facilities.
Totally. And, we work with a lot of franchises. We work with Liquivita, we work with Restore, we work with Optimize You, we work with Remedy. So we have a lot of clients that operate metabolic testing across several different facilities across the country. And so uniformity and consistency in the customer experience is everything, right? And being able to train all of your staff, if you're relying exclusively on in-house personnel to deliver consistent experiences, almost impossible, especially when you're adding complicated things like advanced biometric testing, like breath analysis. And that's why a very big part of the offering that we have is the human capital support that we provide to affiliates like you, exactly so that you can have this consistency in customer experience across all of your facilities.
Yeah. And it's been such a huge part. It's one of the three pillars. So whenever we do a assessment on an individual, we have it broken down into three categories that allow our team to build the best optimization plan. And so the first thing we look at is body composition. We have a full infrared 3D body composition analysis that we do. So we get an idea of, their measurements, their lean muscle tissue, fat mass, body fat percentage, and all of that. And then we run them through a full round of metabolic testing. And then recently we just added functional blood chemistry analysis to now we're pulling in 124 different biomarkers from their blood chemistry and creating a risk assessment based off of that and optimization schedule based off of that. So when we have all those components, because they all are very, very different and they're all treated very differently, but all three of those components, we need to know that information so that we can build out an appropriate plan.
Totally. Yeah. And, we very much encourage all of our users to add as much information as possible through biometric testing about their client's health outlook, because, the more information you have, the more we can help out with the recommendations we provide. And, in this direction, I think we've also talked about that offline. Very soon, we're rolling out a big update in our software platform that allows you to upload into our system all of the additional biomarkers that you're tracking, either through body composition or blood analysis or stool or urine, saliva testing. So you can basically insert all of this additional information into our backend, have us crunch it, and then in a single report and a single overview, get first of all, a global assessment of all the different systems that have now been analyzed through all the different testing you're doing. And if you're doing the, level of comprehensive testing you're describing, that's, all that overview is going to be almost a complete picture of someone's health, right? And then in addition to that holistic picture, what you also get is recommendations for nutrition, training, and biooptimization for all these different systems. Because and that idea of this, all-in-one dashboard and holistic overview of biometric information came from the problem we identified through many of you guys, which is, hey, I'm doing Pnoe, and then I'm doing an InBody or a Staiku, and then I'm doing like a Quest, or I'm doing Function Health or whatever. And, I have these, 5, 6 different reports, and we're talking about pages and pages of information. Like, how do I bring everything in so that my clients can log into one platform and see everything in one place? And then how can I also bring everything into one system that is going to digest all this information and give me very specific recommendations for all these different areas?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a fantastic partnership. I mean, we've really enjoyed, working with you and all of the team behind the scenes, the level of support that we have. I really feel this is when we look at integrative partnerships with anything that we bring into our facilities, these are the types of partnerships that we look for, because the level of support and just the integration and the knowledge and just all the things that go on behind the scenes has been such an integral part of our growth and everything that we've that we've experienced. And the technology has been fantastic. We really have opened people's eyes. And I think that's where the health industry is shifting to anyway, is I think we're getting further and further away from traditional reactive medicine. And I think people are becoming more cognizant of being a little bit more proactive with their health and trying to get ahead of potential issues that they may have of dysfunction and trying to get ahead of those waiting instead of waiting for them to be an actual dysfunction that they now have to treat. Right. And I think that's where the mindset in a lot of the communities are shifting towards.
Totally. It's, I think, a multitude of factors pushing our industry in this direction. It's certainly, first of all, consumer sentiment and consumer intention that, people are certainly disenfranchised with medicine 2.0. They want a holistic approach to their problems. They understand that, a compartmentalized approach to their medical issues is not going to cut it. And so there is certainly a very strong consumer interest in holistic approach towards any sort of health issue they may be facing. That's one thing. But I think the other issue is driven by the fact that the way the insurance system has been set up and the way insurance and reimbursement incentives are set up, they're not really conducive for facilities, health facilities in general, with the exception of large hospital systems. So the way our incentive and reimbursement system is set up basically makes it impossible for someone to operate outside the realm of a large medical facility, like a large hospital system, because of how difficult it is to deal with insurance, because of the clawbacks, because of all that stuff. So, the incentive system, the reimbursement system is pushing clinic owners to go cash-based. And then inevitably, all of the holistic stuff, most of it is going to be cash-based. So I think it's these two factors pushing the industry in the direction that we are seeing. I only hope that the reimbursement system is going to change at some point so that, all the healthcare dollars that we spend through our health insurance can actually, or part of that can find itself, can find a way to be funneled into all of the holistic part, which actually pays real dividends for our health long term. But for the time being, it is very much a separate ecosystem of health that is being built next to medicine 2.0. And I don't know, maybe grows so big that it topples the former one.
And until that happens, one benefit that we have is as we implement technologies like Pnoe, it gives us the ability to be very, very efficient in what we do, and it helps keep the cost and the time investment down, relatively low for somebody that is trying to be proactive in their health. And because we can dial them in so precisely with the use of these technologies, it makes our whole systems and everything much more efficient. Same thing with our staff. Our staff, when they have to create a plan for somebody, it's very efficient now. They know exactly, based off the testing data, they know exactly how to dial in that plan very specifically, and we get very, very fast results because we have all the data up front, instead of trying to implement something, whereas before, when we didn't have this data, we're essentially guessing. I mean, we've got calculators, we've got this, we've got that, we've got experience, so we can identify symptomatic things, but essentially we're just taking all that input and we're just guessing, and we're trying to put a plan in place, and then we modify the plan and adjust it, troubleshoot, make corrections. Whereas now we're so efficient in our processes that we dial the plan in right out of the gate.
No, that actually is the end goal for us, to streamline all the operational burden that you guys are facing on the back end, so that something that is complicated like breath analysis can actually become feasible for an everyday health facility or fitness facility.
Well, Panos, again, it was a pleasure as always. I always enjoy our conversations. We very much look forward to continuing to grow with Pnoe. Can't wait to see what the roadmap keeps looking like as you guys keep moving the needle on the technology and on the software. So again, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on and have a conversation. We look forward to many more.
Jason, thank you so much for having me. Always an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
All right. Take care.
The Pnoe Metabolic Test provides the gold standard in crafting a personalized nutrition and training program tailored to your metabolism. Whether your goal is completing your first half marathon, losing weight sustainably, or simply getting more and better years out of your life, Pnoe offers the most reliable method of achieving it. The test analyzes 23 biomarkers with independently validated clinical grade precision. These include functions such as your VO to max, metabolic rate, fat burn efficiency, and lung volume. By using over a century of scientific research, Pnoe converts these insights into a 360 view of your physiology that evaluates your cells, metabolism, lungs, heart, nervous system, and brain function. Moreover, by measuring your VO to max with the gold standard method, the test provides one of the most reliable methods of determining your biological age and risk of developing chronic conditions. Through the insights of the test, you will be able to precisely determine the number of calories your body burns and if your metabolism is slower or faster than normal. How efficient you are in burning fats and carbohydrates. What your personalized heart rate training zones are, and at what heart rate range you burn the most fat. What does the optimal breakdown among resistance, base, and interval training is for you? And finally, how many fats, protein, and carbs should you be consuming daily? Our experts will then convert all this information into a personalized nutrition and training plan with detailed recipes, eating guidance, grocery shopping support, and exercise routines, all customized to your metabolism and lifestyle. Our app makes it easier than ever to track your sleep, recovery, adherence to the nutrition plan, and training progress by integrating data from any wearable device, while also allowing your coach to monitor you every step of the way.